This here, this is Tim Brown. He was the CISO of SolarWinds, and SolarWinds got breached. Now, before you picture some lad in a hoodie mashing a keyboard like he's ordering a kebab at 2 a.m., no, this was a classy crime. The kind of cyber attack that doesn't kick your door in, but it picks the locks, wipes its feet on the way in, and then sits in your living room like it pays rent. SolarWinds made a product called Orion. Now, if you're not in IT, here's the vibe. Orion is a thing companies use to keep an eye on their networks, like CCTV for your digital estate. And it wasn't a niche product either. Loads of organizations around the world used it. Big ones, public sector ones, government ones, proper, we have policies for policies ones. So Tim's day job, day in, day out as the Chief Information Security Officer was basically keep the barbarians out, keep the lights on, and please, for the love of all things holy, don't end up trending on the internet. And for the while, that was fine. Stressful, sure, but normal stressful, CISO stressful. The sort where your phone buzzes at 2 a.m. and your soul briefly leaves your body. Then in late 2020, the universe decides to spice things up, because attackers allegedly linked to Russian intelligence pull off a move so nasty, it's almost elegant. They slip malicious code, Sunburst, into legitimate Orion software updates. So let that sink in. It's not a phishing email, not a dodgy USB stick. An update, a patch, the thing that you are supposed to do to be safe. Security people are always going on about patching like it's a religion. Have you patched? Why haven't you patched? Patch or perish. And here, patching is the thing that opens the door. So thousands of organizations do what they're always told to do. Click, install, job done. Except job not done, because now attackers are in quietly without triggering the big dramatic alarms you'd expect. And roughly 18,000 organizations downloaded and installed that compromise update. 18,000. That's not a bad Tuesday. That's an event. That's history book material. That's the sort of number where you stop counting and just start praying, inshallah, it's not you next. Now, here's where the tension really starts to wind up, because the hack is only the beginning. Because when something this massive happens, everyone wants answers. And it's not just how did they get in, but the even nastier question. Did you know you were vulnerable? And carry on chatting like everything was calm. And this is where Tim's story turns from a cyber thriller into something that feels like a courtroom drama waiting to happen. According to the SEC later on, there were internal warnings, presentations, messages, concerns, things being said inside the company like remote access setup, not very secure, critical assets, vulnerable, access and privilege to key systems, inappropriate. Which translated into normal human language basically means, boss, we're a bit exposed here. And if you're the CISO, those words stick to your ribs. They keep you up at night. They make you stare into the middle distance while pretending you're listening in meetings. Because at that point, you're not thinking about hackers anymore. You're thinking about accountability. You're thinking about paper trails. You're thinking about whether your future includes a nice holiday or a subpoena. And Tim, being a 30-year veteran, apparently already suspected there could be legal repercussions, especially given the kind of organizations affected. But even he wasn't ready for what happened next. Fast forward to October 2023, Tim is at a conference in Zurich. Lovely place, Zurich. Clean, organized, the sort of city where even the pigeons look like they have a pension plan. He's there probably doing the usual conference routine, smiling, nodding, pretending he's excited about panel discussions. Then the message comes through. The SEC charges SolarWinds and Tim Brown personally. And that's where your stomach does that thing like it's trying to leave the building without you. Because this wasn't just your company is in trouble, this was you. You specifically step forward. The SEC's allegation, put simply, is that SolarWinds and Tim, over a period from about the IPO timeframe in 2018 through to the breach disclosure in 2020, allegedly overstated cybersecurity practices and understated known risks. In other words, externally, the message looked calm. Internally, the documents looked less calm. And the SEC basically goes, right, which one is it? And at this point, you can almost hear every CISO in the world whispering, wallahi, it could be any one of us. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. CISOs don't always get to fix everything. They don't always get the budget. They don't always get the headcount. They don't always get listened to. Half the time, they're begging for basic controls like they're asking for a favor. But when things go bang, suddenly everyone remembers your job title. Suddenly it's, why didn't you stop it? Why didn't you warn us? Why didn't you? Mate, because I'm not a wizard, yeah? The idea that one human being can personally guarantee cybersecurity in a modern enterprise is like saying one bloke can personally guarantee nobody in London will ever push in queue because whatever. It's adorable, it's delusional, it's just not happening. Anyway, the story doesn't end with, and then he was doomed, because reality is messier than that. In July 2024, the US judge dismissed most of the SEC's claim. Not all, but most. Which, if you've been living under that sort of pressure, must feel like finally taking a breath after being underwater for ages. After that, SolarWinds and the SEC moved towards a settlement. But the real ending, the part that lingers, isn't the legal paperwork, it's the shift. Because Tim Brown's story becomes a warning bell for the entire security industry. The breach might not make you the villain, but the story told about the breach might. And now cybersecurity isn't just stop the hackers. It's what did you say publicly? What did you know internally? What did you document? What did you escalate? And most terrifyingly, can someone make it look like you were fine with it? So yeah, Tim Brown wasn't the hacker. He wasn't the one slipping sunburst into updates, but he found himself in the blast radius of a new world where the CISO isn't just defending systems, they're defending a narrative. And if you're watching this thinking this could never be me, that's usually how the first act starts. Here's the part people often forget when they turn these stories into neat little morality plays. Because after all the noise, after all the headlines, the hot takes, the this changes everything LinkedIn posts written like they're accepting an Oscar, in November 2025, the SEC filed a joint stipulation with SolarWinds and Tim Brown to dismiss the Commission's civil enforcement action with prejudice. With prejudice. Meaning not we'll see you later, not we might come back, but done, finished, put away. And the SEC was very clear it was, quote, in the exercise of its discretion, and that the dismissal does not necessarily reflect the Commission's position on any other case. Which is legal speak for, we're dropping this case, but don't get comfy, yeah? So Tim Brown's story ends in a way that's almost more chilling than a simple conviction would be, because it leaves every security leader with the same takeaway. You can do everything you can raise concerns, you can fight for fixes, and still, if the wrong breach happens at the wrong time, you may end up personally on the receiving end of the system. Then one day it might get dropped, but the bit they never give you back, the years, the stress, the reputation, the nights staring at the ceiling thinking, wallahi, how did my job become a legal thriller? So yeah, Tim wasn't the hacker, but in this era, sometimes that's not the scariest part.